Hello, my name is Carlos Urban, and today I'm going to continue reviewing the manual for the Nikon Z9. If you haven't seen my first video on the manual, what you should do to download the manual is you go over here where it says, so you do a search Nikon Z9 Manual, and you go here where it says Download Center. And I recommend that you basically download most of these manuals. But the most important one is this one, the big one. This is the one that we're going to actually go into review. This one, which says User Manual, it says for customers in Europe. And for some reason, it's very short. It doesn't have a lot of information. The firmware update, so we're going to do this one later on. And we're also going to do the sports AF and the video edition. So today we're going to try to cover as much as we can in about 45 minutes. Now, my first video, I did the camera body, but I was trying to explain each of the buttons and show it in the camera, and it was taking too long, so I decided to do two videos. One that is only on the manual, so that way we could go into a lot of detail, and the other one with the camera. So that way I can show the buttons, and that one is going to be, not on every single feature. So let's go here through the manual. Now notice that this manual has 914 pages, so obviously we're going to skip some things, but real quick, I think these parts of the camera controls, this is very important stuff, and also the menus. So let's try to get through as much as we can from here and the menus and see how we do. So this is the control panel. Remember that the control panel is this. So in the control panel, it's important to understand what each thing is. So this is the shooting mode. So right now it's in program. And this right here is the shutter speed, so it says 1/25, but it's 1/125. This is the aperture. This tells you the battery, if the battery is charged, so here is completely charged. This right here is if you're using menu bank A, so you can do 4 banks of menus. So this one, it tells you is A. This one is telling you the focus mode, so this is what is called single servo, which I explained is the one that you use for things that are not moving. Here you have the AF area indicator, so it is the small one. So we'll see in a minute what the different ones are. But basically, the focus point, you can go really wide or really small. So this is used more for precision. You have the ISO. In this case, when it says A, means that it's set up for ISO automatically, so it changes automatically depending on what you put in the shutter speed and the aperture. So you see it's at 0. That means that automatically it's getting the exposure here. This is how much memory is left, or exposures actually, 8,000 exposures. But it also depends on what type of file you have. So if you have RAW, it will be very different than JPEG. So this is obviously very much dependent on what you have set it to. Okay, now let's look at the monitor. So you have two things, the monitor and the viewfinder. I'm gonna reverse these, okay? So let's do the viewfinder first. The viewfinder, as you can see, it's hard to see here, so let's put it a little bigger. So in the viewfinder, you have this right here, the view mode, which is right now on, I guess it's the viewfinder. Live view means that it's on the screen. Here, this is the timer button. It's set up on a timer. Again, this is the single servo, this is AFS sorry, this is AFS. This right here, focus mode. Oh, okay, sorry. So this is, sorry, I got a little confused. This is the release mode. So this right here, S, is I'm not used to S because I never put in S. S is shutter priority, A would be aperture priority, M would be manual. This is the single servo, AFS, okay? So this is for things that are static. And this is the small area mode. So, you know, it gets bigger. So here you can see, this is exactly the setting that we have here. White balance is set up for automatic 0. We'll see that you have two white balances for auto white balance. You have one that is natural light and neutral. I think the 0 is the neutral. Here, number 7, picture control, it says off, picture control. Okay, I need to see what this is. So here you can click on this and it will tell you picture control. Okay, creative picture control. I have never used that. Oh, I see. They call it picture control. Okay, so this is what your screen is going to look in the. So let me explain. Picture control. So basically, what this means is if you're shooting JPEG, okay, you can put any of these options, and it's going to do it. You know, it's going to do some editing. So, for example, landscape, vibrant landscape in the cityscape. So this is going to do some processing in the camera. I don't use any of this because I shoot RAW. But if you shoot JPEG, then you know you want to do some processing in the camera, that's perfectly fine. I usually choose neutral because neutral is going to show me in the screen the closest that it is to RAW. You see, it says minimal processing, so that's really what I want, minimal processing. So now we understand what they mean by that. Okay. So right now it's set to some sort of one of the controls, one of the picture controls. So that would be, I guess that's like landscape. And 9, image quality normal. So this is normal would mean, you know, like one of the JPEGs, okay? And is full frame. So that's the information that we have here. Let me put this a little bit smaller because now it's a little difficult to navigate. So let's go to the next one. Okay, more things. Battery. So here, again, thank you for magnifying it so we don't have to magnify so much. So from left to right, I don't know what they do these things. If you're going to start from here to here, why isn't this one number 1? It's like I'm looking at a mirror. Okay, so this is your metering. So right now it's set to matrix. And we'll talk about that later. It has the vibration reduction. So let me put it a little bigger because it's even hard to see. So you see that little hand. So it has the vibration reduction. Shooting mode is set to program. Shooter speed. This is obviously the aperture. Here you can see the exposure. So right now it has the auto ISO. So that's why it's going to, whatever you change here, it's going to change the ISO automatically. 8,000 pictures, battery. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so you can do tall orientation. So if you're shooting vertically, you can do tall orientation. So you can do that in the viewfinder. Why would anybody put the viewfinder like this unless you're shooting vertical? That is really strange. Okay, so let's keep on going. Video I'm going to do separately, so I'm not going to talk about the video. So here, it is placing your eye in the viewfinder activates the eye sensor, so it knows that you're looking through the viewfinder, so it can be done automatically. Let's go to the monitor. So we did the viewfinder, now the monitor, very similar, nothing new here. So again, program mode. Here you have shutter priority, single servo, specific, white balance, normal. So right now that means that it's a JPEG. This one, picture control, this is the one that I was telling you, full frame, that they choose. I think that's like landscape or something. I don't know what it is. Here, well, that's it. Okay, we'll see these things in the next one. I mean, I can describe it to you, but I better just to make sure I don't make any mistakes. So again, I don't know why they start from here. Okay, so this is exposure. That means it's overexposed, underexposed. This is the eye icon, which this is very interesting. Why does the eye icon appear there? That's very interesting. So you can, interesting. So that means that if you choose the eye, you can see what the eye is on. I thought you could only see it in the screen. I'm actually, but that is the monitor. Sorry. Of course, this is the monitor. It's not the viewfinder. Sorry, it was a lapsus. So you click on this, and now it's going to show the eye. The eye will. We talked about it in the previous video, but eye is the most used features from your menu, and we'll look at those really quick. So view. Okay, so we did these two touch controls. So then he has touch controls. I only do the expansion, and you can also, I guess, focus and do shutter release, but I don't know why anybody would use that. So let's go to the menus. This is really, really what we care about, right? So setup menu, format, that's self-explanatory, language, time zone, monitor brightness. This is, again, very self-explanatory, color balance, viewfinder balance. So all these settings are for in the setup menu. Eye menu. So when you press the eye menu, it has these functions, and they are the most common ones, and you can customize it. So here you have, why doesn't it say what they are? This is very strange. I mean, I know what they are, but I really want to go through them. Again, manuals are like written by engineers. That's why I go through them, because they don't make it any. So I'm gonna pause for a second so we can go where all the details for the menus are. So coming back, so I noticed that this manual is much worse than I thought. I mean, it's so disorganized, but that's why we're doing this. So I took my time to think the best way to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it based on different areas. So we're going to go here to the index, okay? So let's go to this section first, adjusting image area, okay? So this is just the full frame versus crop frame. I really don't know why would anybody put it in cropped, but here you can do it in the image area. Image quality is about if you want to put it in JPEG, which image quality. So this is the button, which image quality you want. So this is just the smaller, the lower the quality, the smaller the size. So if you're trying to do very small size, and because you need to send it very quick, you may want to do the basic. Choosing the image. So this is again choosing the image size. Focus mode. So focus mode, we've talked about, this is the single servo, which is for static, okay? Area mode, on the other hand, is how big do you want to make the area. So here it's very small. You can see it here in this square, okay? Now, when you're choosing the autofocus, and we're gonna have more on autofocus, you can set it up so there is auto, people, animal, vehicle, or off. If you're shooting, obviously, a portrait, you want to put it in people. Now, my recommendation is, and we're going to see this in another video when we do the functions, is that you have the 3D in one of the functions. That way, what you do is you first focus without the person detection, and then you activate the 3D. because you can point on the eye and then the 3D will follow. Why is the 3D good? The 3D is so that the person, let's say she starts moving, right? The 3D is going to follow the eye instead of you having to follow the eye. So that's why you want to use, first select the, you want to select the eye and then do the 3D. And you have it on human, so it also knows that it's human. Focus point, this is you just move the focus, that's how you move it. Touch shutter. Oh, okay, so you can do things with the display, but focus lock, and you can lock in with the back button or halfway the shutter speed. So this is manual focus, that's you do it here in the lens. Okay, by the way, usually when you start moving the lens, then the camera knows. If not, then you need to change the setting to manual. Choosing mode, so I think we've talked about this. This button, basically you have program, which is almost like the automatic, aperture priority, shutter priority, or manual, and it shows right there. If you're doing a long exposure, so this is actually something that a lot of people don't know. A lot of people are saying, why can I do like a 10-minute? So what you do here in the mode, okay, you start when you go, so you need to put it in manual first, and you go all the way to when it shows the word bulb. When it shows the word bulb, that means that you can press on the shutter and leave it as long as you want. As a matter of fact, if you have a remote, you can leave it there for 10 minutes, okay? And you can do a very long exposure. You can also do the auto exposure lock if you want to lock the exposure. Exposure compensation. So this is very important, especially when you're doing aperture priority. So let's say your camera shows something like this. For some reason, it's not giving you the exposure you want. You can put +1, and then it will be like this. Okay, what else do we have here? Release mode. Okay, so this is, here you have for single shot, and then for continuous, you have low and high. If you're shooting RAW, it goes up to 20 frames per second. If you're shooting JPEG, which we'll show over there, it can go to, here it is, to 120. So for that one, you're going to go all the way to the last one. Okay, remember that to do 120, it needs to be in JPEG. It will not shoot 120 frames per second on RAW. And of course, you can also have the timer, and you can set how long do you want the timer for. Then you have ISO sensitivity, so you can put it on auto ISO, and you can basically set the limit. You can put the limit, how low do you want it to go, how high do you want it to go. So let's say, you can say, I don't want it to go more than 3000 ISO or 3200 ISO, because after that, let's say, I start noticing the noise. So you can put that limit, and basically it won't go higher than that. White balance, so we talked about the white balance. You have the auto, and you have two types of auto. So let's see. By the way, you can even fine-tune the auto if you want. Let's say you want it a little bit warmer, you can do it here. Or you can choose the temperature. So the temperature is very useful when you shoot with strobe lights. Strobe lights sometimes, not sometimes, they usually tell you what is the recommended temperature. Most of them, well, depending on the lights, but the strobe lights that I use are usually between 5200 and 5500. So you can put it there, and that will make sure that that's the color temperature. Or you can preset the white balance. Bracketing, again, this is if you want to have several shots at different exposures, and you can have bracketing also for white balance. So people usually do bracketing for exposure, and here is the button, and you can put either in 1 or 2 stops, and you can put how many shots you want. By the way, I explained that also in the video of the basics where I show exactly how to do that. ADL bracketing, picture control. So this is the picture controls is where you set the type of, again, this is more if you're shooting JPEG. Remember I told you the picture controls. So you have vivid, monochrome, portrait. I put it in neutral because that's the one that shows what it's going to look in RAW, and I do all these in RAW. But if you're shooting in JPEG, you can, for example, go to Vivid, and you can actually change the settings for Vivid. So here, for example, this is changing the contrast, so you can do that. That way you have your custom picture controls, so you can have even your own custom picture controls. Location data, so that is built in. You can put it so that it's shown, the location data. Photoshooting, okay, so we talked already about bracketing. This is the one for exposure compensation. Video, we're going to do in another video. Retouching pictures. I don't retouch any pictures in the camera, and I don't recommend it. So you put the play button, and you can basically look through your pictures and edit them. What I think is very important is the information. The information. You want to see the information about the picture. So here you have the exposure data, highlights data. Okay, so if it's overexposed, okay, the histogram, the shooting data. So you can add all of these and look at all of these, or only look at an overview. I like to look at an overview usually, okay? So basically in the play, you can do that. And I show in the functions how to change all of these. The I button, so this is important. The I button, remember that this is the one that gives you the quick things. Okay, oh, but this is, got it. So this is this is still part of the review in the picture. So you can do some retouch with that. Videos, we're not gonna do here. You can zoom either with the plus button or with your finger, like if it was the iPhone. You can protect pictures so they don't get deleted by mistakes. You can put ratings. You can, using the delete button. So here, when you hit this, it's going to ask you before you delete it to delete multiple pictures. You can select multiple pictures. I usually do this in the computer because I don't know. I mean, some of the pictures I'm talking about when you want to erase like 100 pictures, it takes too much time to do it in the camera. And sometimes in the camera, it's really hard to see the picture. So I think that it's better to do it outside of the camera. But again, some people say, you know what, if I have time, I'm at the airport, and you start going through the pictures, the ones that are clearly bad, then you can just erase them. Retouching copies. I don't. So raw processing, retouch raw. I don't know why. No. I'm against retouching in the camera, but you can do that. Obviously, you can trim, you can resize, you can add light, D-lining. Again, I don't use D-lining. The reason why I don't use it is I want to have control of everything that I do. When it adds all these artificial things, then I don't know what's going on. I had this on one time, and it was giving me results that I didn't know what was going on, and it was by accident I turned on the D-lining. Straighten, well, yeah, that's, again, things that I do in the camera. It's actually good that you can do it in the picture, but it's so much easier to do it in the computer. Now, the distortion reduction, so distortion control, perspective control, these things I really want to try, because these are the things that when you do post, if it were done in the camera, you know, maybe is a convenience, but I need to try it. Again, my concern is that in the camera, when it's done, you can undo. In the computer, if you don't like the way it's changing the perspective, you can always go back. Okay, and sometimes it doesn't get the results that you want. Lighten and darken, again, these are things that you can do in editing. This is interesting. I'm gonna start using these voice memos. The button is right there. Why would you use a voice memo? Well, maybe you took a picture, you're in a park or somewhere, and you read somewhere. I used to take a lot of pictures of signs because sometimes you're like in the middle of Yellowstone or something, and the sign tells you what it is. You're never gonna remember. Well, if you don't want to take pictures of signs, you can always record. Say, look, this is whatever, you know. Connecting the HDMI's to the TV. I like I said in my other video, what I use is the Snap Bridge, and I have noticed that it's a lot easier to do everything with Bluetooth than Wi-Fi. So try Bluetooth first, and then try Wi-Fi. What I like about the Snap Bridge is that if you let's say you take a picture, and again, it's a quick snapshot. You want to upload it in Instagram. So very quickly it goes to SnapBridge and you just upload it. So when I bought the camera, or sorry, when I received the camera, I was very excited. So I took a picture real quick and I just uploaded it to Instagram. I didn't even process it. So that's where it's very interesting. NX Studio, so this is editing processing software from Nikon. I use Lightroom and Photoshop, which I recommend. The troubleshooting, connecting to other cameras. I have never. Oh well, I guess if you're doing, like a professional shoot and you're not with the camera and you want to synchronize it with other cameras, I guess that's what you do that for. I have a whole video on how to do flash photography. This camera doesn't have a flash, and I think the best way to control the flash is, well, I use the Pocket Wizards. I guess here you can do the remote flash photography. Yes, it allows you. This is really interesting. I'm gonna try this because in the past you couldn't do that without having a special device, but I think this is only with certain flashes. So I need to do a little more research about the new flash because it seems that these have a wireless built in. So that's interesting. Doesn't seem to be a device. So obviously when you put it in the camera, you can control everything. It's what you have it remotely, which is really the way you should use your flashes as much as you can. Adjusting flash comfort, so remote. So this is very interesting. I need to see again. No, okay, yes. This you can do it from so this is called a master flash, and these are the slaves. This is you can do with any of the Nikon flashes. What this is, I don't know if this is a special device. I need to again research this. If it's if it's built in, that would be awesome. In radio signal, I use the Pocket Wizards. Okay, WR. So this is a special adapter, so you need to buy that separately. Okay. What else do we have here? So here you have all the menus. Unfortunately, it doesn't give you any explanation. It just shows it. In the video where I go through the basics, I explain each of the different things in the menu. Not every single one because it has so many. I said I'm going to do another video. So the first video was all the basics. So everything in the menu that is very important and you need to know. I'm going to do a separate one for the stuff that is more advanced, that is not the basics. So flash control. You know what? I think we're almost done. I'm going to do the autofocus because there is a manual that comes to do especially action focus, especially with the 2.0. So I'm going to do that separately. Oh my God, we're on page 525, 900 pages. So nowhere near. So here it explains each one. Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do is, because in my basic video I explain all the basic ones, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna mark from here the stuff that is advanced. I can actually, so blockshot response, subject. Okay, so this is, there is nothing here that I see that is really important. The wraparound, so this is just, if you want, wraparound means if when you move your points and you go all the way to the right, then they start appearing on the left. I don't like that. I like to go from left to right. So this is the focus point wraparound. It doesn't even show you a picture. So this, I'm gonna do this separately, because all this dynamic area, this is just one video completely for everything that has to do with autofocus. The other thing is I want to take different pictures with a different mode so that you can see the difference. So metering is important. Let's see. So you can change the stops of the metering. Wow, this is so bad. I'm sorry, I just can't. It tells you about matrix and it doesn't show you what the matrix looks like. Center weighted, and it doesn't show you the center weighted. Why doesn't it show you? You know, there is like a little symbol for each one of these. So for matrix, okay, so this is so you can fine tune each of these. No way. Don't touch the metering. Don't mess with the metering. You have exposure compensation, where if you're not agreeing with the metering, you can compensate with that. Don't change the meter in the camera. I don't think you should do that. Continuous shooting. So this is the thing. I don't understand why they cannot just show a little picture, what it looks like, and do the explanation. So burst mode, again, the buffer, you have it on. I apologize that I get a little upset, but you know, I'm doing this so that you don't have to go and waste your time through all of this. But okay, this is what I'm talking about. Why can't they just show a little picture so that you know what the vibration reduction looks like, and explain it to me, so I don't have to go back? So I'm on 645 and now I have to go back to 526? Really? Okay, so here is showing the picture, normal. So something that you should know, so normal in sports. So what I noticed is mine was grayed out, and what I realized is because I'm using one of my DSLR lenses, it doesn't work with that particular lens. So it works only with some. So this is like the VR in the camera, and it works with some lenses, and it doesn't work with other lenses. Okay, so where were we? I'm gonna pause for a second to see if I find other things that are important. So again, there is a lot of detailed explanations about different things, but it would take forever if we did every single one of these. So I recommend we cover all the most important things. The other video where I show the basic functions, I go through each one in the menu and I explain one by one. I'm going to go back to that menu and then see any of the functions that I did not cover, and I'm going to have that one in another video, which I'm going to call, instead of basics, intermediate and advanced functions. And then the autofocus is better to do it in one separate video. So hopefully at least you got the most important things. And what I would like you to do, well, I hope you like this video, so you hit like and subscribe. But I would like you to do is go through the manual, and if there is anything that you do not understand or you want me to cover, I will be more than happy to do that. So for example, here you have the copyright information. I think that's important. You should put your copyright information so automatically your pictures have your information. But you see, what I don't like about this, it doesn't even show you where it is. And that is bad. Is here in the setup menu. so you have copy information. But you see, why does, oh, here it is, setup menu. Okay, so I guess it does tell you. All right, so I hope it's 35 minutes long. I hope that this was useful. Again, 914 pages, and there is 3 other manuals. So I'm doing my best here to cover the most important stuff. Thank you.